This book is not about waiting for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. If you only work when you feel like it, you will never reach your true potential. Success belongs to those who can act even when they don't want to. Inside these chapters, you will learn how to break resistance, build systems, and force yourself into action. Not through willpower alone, but by using strategies that make discipline simple and natural. Remember this, working hard is not about punishment. It's about creating freedom for your future self. Every small action you take today is an investment in the life you dream of tomorrow. So if you've ever struggled with procrastination, laziness, or a lack of energy, this book will show you how to fight back and win. The words you are about to read are written for you, but the voice behind them is Julian Vance. Chapter 1: The Psychology of Resistance. Picture this: you're sitting at your desk, coffee in hand, ready to tackle that important project. Your computer screen glows, documents are open, and everything is perfectly arranged. But instead of diving in, you find yourself checking social media, organizing your desk for the third time, or suddenly remembering that your kitchen needs cleaning. Sound familiar? Welcome to the most frustrating paradox of human behavior. We desperately want to achieve our goals, yet something inside us fights tooth and nail against doing the very work that will get us there. It's like having two different people living in your head, one who dreams big and sets ambitious plans, and another who sabotages every attempt to follow through. This isn't a character flaw. This isn't weakness. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do over millions of years of evolution. The problem is, your ancient brain hasn't gotten the memo that the modern world requires a different kind of survival strategy. The cave dweller, living in your head. Your brain is essentially a cave dweller wearing a business suit. Deep in your neural wiring sits a primitive alarm system that's been keeping humans alive for thousands of years. This system has one simple job: avoid pain, seek pleasure, conserve energy. It doesn't care about your quarterly targets, your creative projects, or your dreams of success. It only cares about keeping you safe and comfortable right now. When you sit down to work on something challenging, your primitive brain sees danger everywhere. That blank page? It could lead to criticism. That difficult conversation you need to have? It might result in rejection. That skill you need to learn? It requires effort and the possibility of failure. Your brain's response is swift and decisive. Nope. Let's do something easier instead. This is why scrolling through your phone feels so much more appealing than writing that report. Your brain gets tiny hits of dopamine from each notification, each new piece of information, each colorful image. It's immediate, easy, and predictable. Work, on the other hand, is none of those things. But here's what your cave dweller brain doesn't understand. In today's world, the biggest danger isn't the saber-toothed tiger outside your cave. It's the slow erosion of your potential through avoidance, the quiet disappointment of unfulfilled dreams, and the growing gap between who you are and who you could become. The pleasure trap that's hijacking your success. We live in a world specifically designed to trigger your brain's pleasure-seeking circuits. Every app on your phone has been engineered by teams of neuroscientists and behavioral economists to be as addictive as possible. Social media platforms literally employ the same psychological principles used in casinos. Streaming services use algorithms that make it nearly impossible to stop watching. Even your email is designed to create tiny addiction cycles. Meanwhile, meaningful work, the kind that actually moves your life forward, often feels uncomfortable, uncertain, and delayed in its rewards. Writing a book might take months before you see results. Building a business requires countless hours before the first sale. Learning a new skill means embracing the discomfort of being bad at something before you get good. Your brain looks at this equation and thinks, why choose the hard path with uncertain rewards when I can get guaranteed pleasure right now? It's not being lazy. It's being logical, based on the information it has. The problem is, it's using outdated software to solve modern problems. This creates what psychologists call the pleasure trap. The more we choose immediate gratification over long-term goals, the stronger those neural pathways become. Every time you pick up your phone instead of working, you're literally rewiring your brain to prefer distraction over focus. Every time you choose the comfortable option over the growth option, you're training your mind to avoid challenge. But the beautiful thing about neuroplasticity is that your brain can be rewired. The same mechanisms that created these patterns can be used to create new ones. You're not stuck with your current habits. You're not condemned to a life of procrastination. You just need to understand how to work with your brain instead of against it. Fear, the silent assassin of dreams. Underneath all procrastination lies a deeper, more primal emotion, fear. Not the obvious kind of fear like being chased by a wild animal. This is subtle fear, the kind that whispers instead of roars. It's the fear of not being good enough, of being judged, of failing publicly, of succeeding, and then having to live up to higher expectations. Think about the last time you procrastinated on something important. Really dig deep. Beneath the surface excuses about being tired or busy, what are you actually afraid of? Maybe you were afraid that your work wouldn't be as good as you imagined. Maybe you were scared that people would see your flaws. Maybe you were worried that even your best effort wouldn't be enough. This fear operates like a sophisticated security system in your mind. The moment you approach something that might expose you to judgment or failure, alarms start going off. Your brain floods your system with stress hormones. Your focus scatters. Suddenly, checking email or reorganizing your workspace seems urgently important. You're not avoiding work. You're avoiding the emotional discomfort that work might bring. Fear disguises itself as procrastination, but it's actually trying to protect you. In your brain's ancient logic, if you never try, you can never fail. If you never put yourself out there, you can never be rejected. If you never start, you never have to face the possibility that you're not as capable as you hoped. The irony is devastating. In trying to protect you from the pain of potential failure, fear guarantees the pain of certain regret. It trades the possibility of temporary disappointment for the certainty of permanent mediocrity. The comfort zone conspiracy. Your comfort zone isn't just a place. It's a powerful drug. Every time you stay within familiar boundaries, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel safe and secure. It's warm, predictable, and free from the anxiety of the unknown. But it's also where dreams go to die. Your comfort zone expands and contracts based on your choices. Every time you choose safety over growth, it shrinks a little. Every time you avoid challenge, the zone of what feels manageable gets smaller. Before you know it, even tiny changes feel overwhelming. The person who used to take risks becomes someone who needs 3 days to mentally prepare for a phone call. This isn't just about big life changes. It happens in small, daily ways. The writer who keeps editing the first chapter instead of moving to the second. The entrepreneur who endlessly researches instead of launching. The person who has been getting ready to start for months or even years. Your brain has convinced you that you need to feel ready before you act. But readiness is not a feeling, it's a myth. No one feels ready to do something they've never done before. Confidence isn't a prerequisite for action. It's a result of action. You don't become brave and then do brave things. You do brave things and then become brave. The comfort zone promises security, but it delivers stagnation. It promises safety, but creates a life of quiet desperation. It promises to protect you from failure, but it guarantees that you'll never experience the deep satisfaction of overcoming genuine challenges. Why smart people often struggle the most. Here's a counterintuitive truth. Highly intelligent people often have the hardest time forcing themselves to work. This isn't because they're lazy. It's because they're too good at seeing all the ways things could go wrong. Their analytical minds, which are such assets in many areas of life, become liabilities when it comes to taking action. Smart people are excellent at identifying potential problems, considering multiple scenarios, and analyzing situations from every angle. While this can be valuable, it can also lead to analysis paralysis. They see not just the work that needs to be done, but all the complications, challenges, and potential failures that might arise along the way. They also tend to have higher standards for themselves, which can make starting feel even more daunting. The perfectionist streak that drives them to excel also makes them reluctant to produce anything less than perfect on the first try. They know the difference between good work and mediocre work, which makes them more aware of how far their current abilities might fall short of their vision. Additionally, intelligent people often have many interests and see multiple paths forward. This abundance of options can become overwhelming. They might spend so much time weighing different possibilities that they never fully commit to any single direction. But intelligence is also your greatest ally in overcoming resistance. Once you understand the psychological mechanisms at play, you can design systems that work with your brain rather than against it. Smart people don't need to work harder. They need to work smarter. creating structures and strategies that make the right choices easier and the wrong choices harder. The instant gratification generation. We live in the most distracting time in human history. Never before have so many powerful forces been specifically designed to capture and monetize your attention. Your smartphone contains more entertainment options than previous generations could access in a lifetime. You can order food, watch movies, connect with friends, learn new skills, and buy almost anything you want within minutes. This constant availability of instant gratification has rewired our brains to expect immediate results in all areas of life. We become accustomed to the instant satisfaction of likes, comments, and notifications. We expect videos to load in seconds, messages to be delivered instantly, and problems to be solved with a click of a button. But meaningful work doesn't operate on instant gratification timelines. Building something worthwhile takes time, patience, and the ability to delay gratification. The skills that matter most, deep thinking, sustained focus, creative problem solving, require us to sit with discomfort and uncertainty for extended periods. This creates a massive disconnect between what our instant gratification-trained brains want and what actual achievement requires. Every time you choose to work on something meaningful, you're essentially asking your brain to give up the guaranteed pleasure of immediate entertainment for the uncertain and delayed rewards of long-term accomplishment. Your brain has become like a child that's been given candy every time it cries. It now expects immediate rewards for minimal effort. When real work comes along, work that requires sustained effort without immediate payoff, your brain throws a tantrum. It floods you with urges to check your phone, to take a break, to do anything that will provide immediate stimulation. Breaking the resistance code. Understanding the psychology of resistance is like having a map of enemy territory. You can't defeat what you don't understand, but once you see how these mental mechanisms work, you can begin to work around them. Your brain's resistance isn't your enemy, it's simply an outdated system trying to protect you with obsolete programming. The first step to overcoming resistance is to recognize it without judgment. When you notice yourself avoiding important work, instead of beating yourself up, get curious. What is the resistance trying to protect you from? What fear is lurking underneath the procrastination? What discomfort are you trying to avoid? Most people make the mistake of trying to fight resistance with willpower alone. They grit their teeth, try harder, and attempt to muscle through the discomfort. This approach fails because willpower is a finite resource. It's like trying to hold your breath indefinitely. Eventually, you have to breathe. Eventually, the resistance wins. Instead of fighting resistance head-on, you need to work with it. You need to create conditions where the right choice becomes the easier choice. You need to design your environment, your schedule, and your systems so that productive action becomes the path of least resistance. This is why understanding the psychology behind your resistance is so crucial. It's not enough to know what you should do. You need to understand why you're not doing it. Only then can you create effective strategies that work with your brain's natural tendencies rather than against them. The hidden benefits of difficulty. Here's something your resistance doesn't want you to know. The discomfort you're trying to avoid is actually the feeling of growth. That sense of challenge, uncertainty, and mild stress when you tackle difficult work isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that something's right. You're literally feeling your brain creating new neural pathways, developing new capabilities, expanding beyond its current limitations. Every time you push through resistance and do difficult work, you're not just completing a task, you're training a crucial mental muscle. You're proving to yourself that you can be uncomfortable and survive. You're demonstrating that you can feel fear and act anyway. You're building the psychological strength that every meaningful achievement requires. Think about physical exercise for a moment. The burn in your muscles during a workout isn't pleasant, but you understand it's necessary for growth. You don't avoid the gym because lifting weights feels challenging. You go because it feels challenging. You've learned to reinterpret physical discomfort as a positive sign of progress. The same principle applies to mental and emotional challenges. The discomfort of tackling difficult work, the anxiety of taking risks, the frustration of learning new skills. These aren't obstacles to overcome. They're indicators that you're moving in the right direction. Comfort is the enemy of growth. If you're always comfortable, you're not growing. This shift in perspective is transformational. Instead of seeing resistance as a wall that blocks your path, you can start seeing it as a doorway that leads to the next level of your capabilities. Instead of avoiding discomfort, you can begin to seek it out as a sign that you're pushing your boundaries in productive ways. Your brain's built-in success system. Despite everything we've discussed about resistance and avoidance, your brain also has incredibly powerful systems designed to help you succeed. The same neuroplasticity that creates bad habits can create good ones. The same pattern recognition abilities that spot potential dangers can identify opportunities for growth. The same motivation systems that drive you toward immediate pleasures can be redirected toward long-term goals. Your brain is always learning, always adapting, always looking for patterns that help you survive and thrive. When you repeatedly choose productive action over avoidance, you're literally rewiring your neural networks to make those choices easier in the future. Every time you push through resistance, you're weakening the pathways that lead to procrastination and strengthening the pathways that lead to action. This process takes time, but it's incredibly reliable. Just as you didn't develop your current habits overnight, you won't transform them overnight either. But with consistent practice, you can absolutely reshape your automatic responses to challenge and discomfort. The key is working with your brain's natural learning mechanisms rather than against them. Instead of trying to eliminate resistance entirely, you can train yourself to feel it and act anyway. Instead of waiting for motivation to strike, you can create systems that make productive action more likely regardless of how you feel. The power of understanding your enemy. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is transformation. Now that you understand the psychological forces that create resistance, you're no longer fighting an invisible enemy. You can see the patterns, recognize the triggers, and anticipate the challenges before they derail your progress. This doesn't mean the resistance will disappear. Your brain will continue to prefer immediate gratification over delayed rewards, comfort over growth, certainty over risk. But now you'll know why these preferences exist and how to work around them. You'll stop taking procrastination personally and start treating it as a predictable challenge that can be systematically addressed. This is the foundation of everything that follows in your journey to master self-discipline. You can't manage what you don't understand, and you can't overcome what you refuse to acknowledge. But armed with this understanding of how your mind works, you're ready to begin implementing strategies that actually work. The moment everything changes. There comes a moment in everyone's journey when they realize they have a choice. Not just about what to do, but about who to become. You can continue letting your primitive brain run the show, choosing comfort over growth, immediate pleasure over long-term satisfaction, familiar patterns over transformative challenges. Or you can step into your role as the conscious director of your own life. This choice isn't made once. It's made hundreds of times each day in small moments that seem insignificant but accumulate into the trajectory of your entire life. The choice to start working instead of checking your phone. The choice to tackle the difficult task instead of the easy one. The choice to lean into discomfort instead of avoiding it. Your resistance will never completely disappear, but it doesn't need to. You don't need to become a different person to achieve different results. You just need to understand how your current person works and create better systems for managing your natural tendencies. The psychology of resistance is not your destiny. It's your starting point. Now that you understand why your brain fights against your goals, you can begin the fascinating work of training it to become your ally instead of your obstacle. The cave dweller in your head doesn't have to run the show anymore. It's time for the evolved, conscious, goal-directed part of you to take the wheel. Chapter 2: Building Systems, Not Willpower. Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Motivation is a lie. Every morning you wake up hoping today will be different. Today you'll finally have the energy to tackle everything on your list. But by noon, you're scrolling through your phone again, wondering where all that morning enthusiasm went. The problem isn't that you lack willpower. The problem is you're fighting a losing battle every single day. Think about your most successful day last month. What made it work? I guarantee it wasn't because you suddenly developed superhuman discipline. It was because something in your environment or routine made the work feel easier, more natural, almost inevitable. That's the power of systems, and it's exactly what separates people who get things done from people who just think about getting things done. The willpower trap. Your brain has a dirty little secret. It's designed to conserve energy at all costs. Every time you rely on willpower to force yourself to work, you're asking your brain to burn extra fuel for something it doesn't naturally want to do. It's like trying to drive a car with the parking brake on. You'll move forward, but you'll burn out the engine in the process. This is why Monday morning motivation dies by Wednesday afternoon. This is why your New Year's resolutions become distant memories by February. This is why you can read a dozen productivity books and still find yourself stuck in the same patterns. You're fighting against your own biology, and biology always wins in the long run. But here's what changes everything. When you build the right systems, you stop fighting your brain and start working with it. Instead of forcing yourself to be disciplined, you create conditions where discipline happens automatically. Instead of battling resistance every single day, you design your environment so that working becomes the path of least resistance. The 2-minute rule that changes everything. Let's start with the simplest system that transforms how you approach any task. It's called the 2-minute rule, and it works because it completely bypasses your brain's resistance to getting started. The rule is brutally simple. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. If it takes longer, break it down until the first step takes 2 minutes or less. Your brain's biggest enemy isn't hard work. It's the unknown. When you look at a project and think, this is going to take forever, your mind immediately starts looking for escape routes. But when you look at something and think, I can definitely do this in 2 minutes, resistance melts away. 2 minutes feels manageable. 2 minutes feels safe. 2 minutes feels possible even when you're tired, stressed, or completely unmotivated. Here's how it works in practice. Instead of write the report, your first step becomes open a new document and write one sentence about what this report needs to cover. Instead of clean the entire house, it becomes pick up 5 items from the coffee table. Instead of start exercising, it becomes put on workout clothes. The magic happens when you realize that starting is the hardest part, and the 2-minute rule makes starting feel effortless. But the real genius of this system is what happens after those 2 minutes. Once you're in motion, staying in motion becomes natural. You open that document to write one sentence, and suddenly you're writing a whole paragraph. You pick up 5 items, and suddenly you're tidying the entire room. You put on workout clothes, and suddenly you're doing a few stretches. The 2-minute rule isn't just about completing tiny tasks. It's about using tiny starts to unlock big momentum. Breaking down the mountain. Every overwhelming task is just a collection of smaller, manageable pieces that someone forgot to separate. The reason most people procrastinate isn't because they're lazy. It's because their brain looks at a big, undefined challenge and triggers every internal alarm system designed to keep them safe. When something feels too big, too complex, or too uncertain, your mind treats it like a threat and responds with avoidance. The solution is to break everything down into micro steps so small that each one feels almost trivially easy. This isn't about dumbing down your work. This is about making your work psychologically manageable, so your brain stops treating it like an enemy. Let's say you need to create a presentation for work. Instead of putting create presentation on your to-do list, you break it down like this. Research 3 key points, write 1 sentence for each point, find 1 image that supports the first point, create a title slide with just the presentation name. Each step is specific, concrete, and small enough that you could do it even on your worst day. The power of micro steps goes beyond just making things feel easier. When you complete small, clearly defined tasks, your brain releases tiny hits of dopamine. These small wins create momentum and positive associations with the work. Instead of dreading the project, you start looking forward to checking off the next micro step. Instead of seeing work as punishment, you start seeing it as a series of achievable victories. This is how you build unstoppable momentum. Not through massive, heroic efforts that leave you exhausted, but through consistent, small actions that compound over time. Each micro step completed makes the next one feel more possible. Each small victory builds confidence for bigger challenges. Each manageable piece proves to your brain that this work isn't dangerous. It's just a collection of simple, doable tasks. Environmental design, making your space work for you. Your environment is constantly voting for or against your productivity. Every object you can see, every app on your phone, every piece of furniture in your workspace is either making it easier or harder for you to focus on what matters. Most people try to overcome a bad environment with good intentions, but intentions are no match for a space that's designed for distraction. Think about your current workspace right now. What's the first thing you see when you sit down? Is it your most important project? Or is it a pile of random papers that remind you of a dozen different things you should probably be doing? Is your phone face down and out of reach? Or is it sitting there like a tiny slot machine, flashing notifications designed to pull your attention away from whatever you're trying to accomplish? The most successful people don't have more willpower than you. They have better environments. They design their spaces so that good choices are obvious and bad choices require extra effort. They put their phone in another room when they need to focus. They clear their desk of everything except what they're working on right now. They keep healthy snacks visible and junk food hidden. They make their workout clothes the first thing they see in the morning and their work materials easily accessible. This works because your brain is constantly taking shortcuts based on what's most convenient in the moment. If distraction is easier to access than focus, you'll get distracted. If checking social media is more convenient than starting your work, you'll check social media. But if you flip these defaults, if you make focus more convenient than distraction and meaningful work easier to access than meaningless busy work, your behavior changes without requiring any extra willpower. Start with your most common workspace and remove everything that doesn't directly support your most important work. Then add visible reminders of what you want to accomplish. Put your current project materials where you can't miss them. Make your next action so obvious that you'd have to work harder to avoid it than to just do it. Your environment should be constantly nudging you toward the behaviors you want, not away from them. The power of environmental triggers. The most powerful productivity system you can build is one that doesn't require you to remember anything or make any decisions. Environmental triggers create automatic connections between specific locations, times, or objects and the work you want to do. Once these connections are established, starting work becomes as natural as turning on a light when you enter a dark room. Professional athletes understand this instinctively. They have pre-game routines that put them in the right mental state without having to think about it. They use the same warm-up sequence, listen to the same music, wear the same lucky socks. These aren't superstitions. They're environmental triggers that automatically activate focus and performance mode. You can create the same automatic activation for your work. Choose a specific location where you only do your most important tasks. It could be a particular chair, a coffee shop, or just one side of your dining table. The key is consistency. Every time you sit in this location, you work on your priority project. No email, no busy work, no distractions. Just your most meaningful work. After a few weeks of consistent use, something magical happens. When you sit in that location, your brain automatically shifts into work mode. You don't have to force yourself to focus. You don't have to fight off distractions. Your mind knows that this location equals serious work, and it responds accordingly. The physical space becomes a trigger that activates all the mental states you need to be productive. Time-based triggers work the same way. If you always work on your most important project at 9 a.m., your brain starts preparing for that work before 9 a.m. even arrives. If you always review your goals every Sunday morning, Sunday mornings automatically become planning time without any effort on your part. The key is to pick specific times for specific types of work and stick to them until the connection becomes automatic. Object triggers are equally powerful. Maybe you have a special notebook that you only use for brainstorming. Maybe you put on a particular hat when you need to focus on creative work. Maybe you light a specific candle before you start writing. These might seem silly, but they create strong psychological associations that help your brain shift gears instantly. Habit stacking, the ultimate productivity multiplier. The most efficient way to build new productive behaviors is to attach them to habits you already do automatically. This is called habit stacking, and it works because it uses your existing neural pathways as launching pads for new behaviors. Instead of trying to remember to do something new, you link it to something you already do without thinking. The formula is simple. After I do existing habit, I will do a new productive behavior. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write 3 priority tasks for the day. After I sit down at my desk, I will put my phone in airplane mode. After I close my laptop, I will plan tomorrow's first task. The existing habit becomes an automatic trigger for the new behavior. This works because your brain loves predictable patterns. Once you've done something the same way several times in a row, your mind starts treating it as the default. You don't have to decide to brush your teeth every morning. You don't have to motivate yourself to check your email when you turn on your computer. These behaviors happen automatically because they're linked to reliable triggers. The beauty of habit stacking is that it grows exponentially. You start by linking one small productive behavior to an existing habit. Once that becomes automatic, you can add another behavior to the stack. After I pour my coffee, I write my 3 priorities, then I review yesterday's progress, Then I set a timer for my first focused work session. Each behavior triggers the next one, creating a chain of productivity that runs on autopilot. The key is to start small and be consistent. Don't try to stack 5 new behaviors onto your morning routine all at once. Pick one tiny, productive action and link it to something you already do reliably. Practice this connection for at least 2 weeks before adding anything else. Once the first link is solid, you can build an entire routine that carries you through your most important work without requiring any willpower or decision-making. Removing friction from your success. The difference between what you intend to do and what you actually do often comes down to friction. Every extra step between you and your goal is an opportunity for your brain to choose something easier instead. Every additional decision you have to make is a chance to get distracted or discouraged. The most productive people aren't more motivated than everyone else. They're just better at removing unnecessary friction from their most important behaviors. Friction shows up everywhere, usually in ways you don't even notice. Having to search for the right file wastes mental energy that could go toward actual work. Having to decide what to work on next creates decision fatigue. Having to clear space on your desk before you can start adds resistance to getting started. Each small inconvenience might seem insignificant, but they add up to create massive resistance to doing what matters most. The solution is to systematically identify and eliminate every unnecessary step between you and your priority work. Prepare everything in advance. Set up your workspace before you need it. Have your materials ready to go. Create templates for recurring tasks. Build checklists for complex processes. Make your next action so obvious and accessible that starting feels easier than not starting. This preparation might feel like extra work, but it's actually an investment that pays dividends every time you use the system. Spending 10 minutes organizing your workspace saves you 2 minutes of setup time every day for the next month. Creating a template for your weekly reports saves you 15 minutes of formatting time every week. Building a simple checklist for your morning routine eliminates hundreds of small decisions that would otherwise drain your mental energy. Think of friction removal as clearing the path for your future self. When you sit down to work tomorrow, what obstacles will get in the way? What missing information will slow you down? What tools will you need to find? What decisions will you need to make? Address all of these questions today, and tomorrow your work will feel effortless. The automatic productivity loop. Once you understand systems thinking, you can create what I call the automatic productivity loop. This is a self-reinforcing cycle where each productive action makes the next one easier, where every system you build strengthens every other system, where success becomes the default rather than the exception. The loop has 4 parts, and each part feeds into the next. First, you use environmental design to make starting easier than not starting. Second, you use micro steps to maintain momentum once you've begun. Third, you use environmental triggers to make the right behaviors automatic. Fourth, you use friction removal to ensure that these behaviors stay consistent over time. Here's how it works in practice. You design your environment so that your most important work is the most obvious choice when you sit down. You break that work into steps so small that each one feels easy and achievable. You link these work sessions to existing habits so they happen automatically. You remove any barriers that might interrupt the flow once you've started. As you complete these small actions consistently, something powerful happens. Your brain starts to associate work with success instead of struggle. Your confidence builds with each completed micro-step. Your environment becomes increasingly optimized for focus. Your automatic triggers become stronger and more reliable. The system starts running itself, requiring less and less conscious effort from you. This is when work stops feeling like work. Not because the tasks become easier, but because the process of doing them becomes natural. You don't have to force yourself to start because your environment makes starting obvious. You don't get overwhelmed because everything is broken down into manageable pieces. You don't lose momentum because the next action is always clear. You don't burn out because the system is sustainable rather than heroic. Building your personal system. Now it's time to design your own automatic productivity system. This isn't about copying someone else's routine or following a productivity guru's exact method. This is about understanding your unique challenges, preferences, and goals, then building custom systems that work specifically for your life. Start with one area where you consistently struggle to follow through on intentions. Maybe it's starting work in the morning. Maybe it's staying focused during the day. Maybe it's completing projects instead of leaving them half-finished. Pick the one area where building a better system would have the biggest impact on your overall productivity. Apply the 2-minute rule to this challenge. What's the smallest possible first step you could take? Make it so small that you could do it even on your worst day, even when you're tired, even when you're completely unmotivated. This micro step becomes your new starting point, the foundation of your system. Next, design your environment to support this tiny action. Remove anything that makes it harder and add anything that makes it easier. If your challenge is starting work in the morning, prepare your workspace the night before. If your challenge is staying focused, remove distractions from your line of sight. If your challenge is finishing projects, create a visual progress tracker that shows how close you are to completion. Create an environmental trigger that automatically prompts your new behavior. Link it to something you already do consistently. After you finish breakfast, you'll do your micro step. After you check your calendar, you'll start your priority task. After you sit at your desk, you'll review your project goals. Make the connection specific and consistent. Finally, remove any friction that might interrupt your progress. Prepare materials in advance, eliminate unnecessary decisions, simplify the process as much as possible. Make following through on your system easier than not following through. The compound effect of small systems. The most successful people in any field aren't successful because they made one giant leap forward. They're successful because they built small systems that compounded over time. Each system made them slightly more effective. Each improvement built on the previous ones. Each small advantage accumulated until the results became impossible to ignore. This is how you build unstoppable momentum in your own work. Not through massive, unsustainable efforts, but through small, consistent systems that make productive behavior automatic. Not through willpower and motivation, but through environmental design and strategic triggers. Not through fighting against your natural tendencies, but through working with them to create the results you want. Your systems are your leverage. They're how you multiply your efforts and create results that seem disproportionate to the energy you put in. They're how you ensure that your productive moments become productive days, your productive days become productive weeks, and your productive weeks become a productive life. The work you do today to build these systems is an investment in every future version of yourself. Every friction point you remove now saves you time and energy for years to come. Every environmental trigger you create now eliminates thousands of future decisions. Every micro step you define now prevents countless moments of overwhelm and procrastination. Start small, but start today. Pick one system to build and commit to it for the next 2 weeks. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Don't wait until you have the perfect plan. Don't postpone action until you feel more motivated. Just pick one area, apply these principles, and watch as work becomes easier, momentum becomes natural, and productivity becomes automatic. Your future self will thank you for every system you build today. And more importantly, you'll finally understand what it feels like when discipline comes naturally, when focus feels effortless, and when getting important work done becomes as automatic as breathing. The battle against procrastination ends when you stop fighting it with willpower and start replacing it with systems. Today is the day you stop forcing yourself to work and start making work feel inevitable. Today is the day you build the foundation for automatic productivity that will serve you for the rest of your life. Your systems are waiting to be built. Your automatic productivity is waiting to be activated. The only question now is, which system will you build first? Chapter 3: The Art of Self-Force. The moment you stop waiting for motivation is the moment you start winning. Let me tell you something most people will never understand. Successful people aren't more motivated than you. They're not blessed with supernatural willpower. They don't wake up every morning bursting with energy and excitement about their work. The only difference is this: they've learned to move without feeling like it. Think about it. Every single person you admire, every achievement you wish you had, every goal that seems impossible right now, they all have one thing in common. Someone decided to act when they didn't want to. Someone chose progress over comfort. Someone mastered the art of self-force. The motivation myth that's killing your dreams. Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to hear. Motivation is a liar. It promises to show up when you need it most, then vanishes the moment things get difficult. It's like that friend who always cancels at the last minute. Unreliable, unpredictable, and absolutely useless when it matters. You've been taught to wait for the right moment, the perfect mood, the burst of inspiration that will carry you through. This is exactly why most people never achieve their goals. They're waiting for a feeling that may never come. While they wait, opportunities slip away, dreams fade, and time keeps moving forward without them. The people who actually succeed understand something fundamental about human nature. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Every small step forward generates energy for the next one. Every completed task builds momentum for the next challenge. The secret isn't finding motivation, it's learning to move without it. Your brain's resistance system. Before we dive into the techniques, you need to understand what you're fighting against. Your brain has a built-in resistance system designed to keep you safe and comfortable. This system worked perfectly when humans lived in caves and faced real physical dangers. Today, it's your biggest obstacle. Every time you try to do something challenging, your brain sounds the alarm. It floods you with excuses, distractions, and that overwhelming urge to do anything else. This isn't weakness, it's biology. Your brain is literally programmed to resist change and effort. The good news is that once you recognize this pattern, you can work with it instead of against it. You can learn to acknowledge the resistance without letting it control you. You can develop strategies that bypass your brain's natural tendency to avoid difficulty. The do it badly method, your secret weapon. Here's a technique that will change everything. Give yourself permission to do terrible work. This sounds counterintuitive, but it's one of the most powerful tools you'll ever discover. The do it badly method removes the biggest barrier to starting, the fear of imperfection. Most people never begin because they're paralyzed by the gap between their vision and their current ability. They see the mountain of work ahead and feel overwhelmed before they even take the first step. The solution is to make the first step so small and low pressure that it's impossible to fail. Instead of "I need to write a perfect report," try "I need to write one terrible paragraph." Instead of "I need to exercise for an hour," try "I need to do one push-up badly." Instead of "I need to master this skill," try "I need to practice this skill poorly for 5 minutes." Something magical happens when you remove the pressure to be good. You actually start. And once you start, momentum takes over. That terrible paragraph becomes 2 paragraphs. One bad push-up becomes 10. 5 minutes of poor practice becomes 20 minutes of focus work. The quality isn't the point in the beginning. The point is to establish the pattern to prove to yourself that you can act when you don't feel like it. You can always improve later. You can't improve what doesn't exist. The power of accountability partners. No one succeeds alone. Behind every achievement is a network of people who refuse to let someone quit when things got difficult. An accountability partner is someone who cares more about your success than your comfort. They're the voice that says keep going when your own voice says give up. But most people choose accountability partners wrong. They pick someone who will be nice to them, who will accept excuses, who will let them off the hook when they fail. This isn't accountability, it's enablement. A real accountability partner should make you slightly uncomfortable. They should ask tough questions. They should hold you to standards you might not hold yourself to. The best accountability partners understand that kindness sometimes looks like firmness. They know that supporting your dreams means challenging your excuses. They care more about your long-term success than your short-term feelings. Find someone who shares your commitment to growth. Set up regular check-ins where you report your progress honestly. Create consequences for not following through. Make it harder to quit than to continue. When you know someone is counting on you, when you've made promises to another person, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. Time blocking, the architecture of success. Your calendar reveals your priorities better than your words ever could. If something isn't scheduled, it probably isn't happening. Time blocking isn't just about organizing your day. It's about designing the life you want to live. Most people treat their calendar like a suggestion. They block time for meetings and appointments, but leave their most important work to chance. They hope to find time for their goals somewhere in the gaps between other people's priorities. This approach guarantees mediocrity. Successful people do the opposite. They schedule their most important work first, during their best hours, when their energy is highest. They treat these blocks as seriously as they would treat a meeting with their boss. Because in a way, they are meeting with their boss of their future self. Start by identifying your 3 most important tasks for tomorrow. These aren't the urgent things that scream for attention. These are the important things that will actually move your life forward. Block specific times for each one. Protect these blocks like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. When the scheduled time arrives, you don't need to feel like working. You don't need to be inspired or motivated. You just need to show up and start. The calendar has made the decision for you. Your only job is to follow through. Reframing work as investment. Everything changes when you stop seeing work as something you have to do and start seeing it as something you get to do. Every difficult task is an investment in the person you're becoming. Every moment of resistance overcome is a deposit in your future success account. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make today. Every time you choose effort over ease, you're building the foundation for the life you want. Every time you push through resistance, you're strengthening the muscles you'll need for bigger challenges ahead. Think about the person you want to become 5 years from now. What skills do they have? What habits have they built? What challenges have they overcome? That person exists because of the work you're doing today. They exist because you learn to act without feeling like it. When you're struggling to start, ask yourself, what would my future self thank me for doing right now? The answer is usually the thing you least want to do. It's the difficult conversation, the challenging project, the skill you need to develop. Your future self doesn't need you to feel good about it. They just need you to do it. The consistency compound effect. Small actions, repeated consistently, create extraordinary results. This isn't just a nice idea, it's a mathematical certainty. Every day you show up, every time you choose progress over perfection, every moment you act without feeling like it, you're adding to a compound effect that will amaze you. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They try to change everything at once, burn out, and give up. The real secret is to focus on consistency over intensity. Better to work on your goals for 10 minutes every day than for 5 hours once a week. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about showing up more often than you don't. It's about getting back on track quickly when you fall off. It's about building a pattern that becomes stronger than your moods. Every day you practice self-force, it gets easier. Not because the work becomes less challenging, but because you become more capable. You build evidence that you can do hard things. You develop trust in your ability to follow through. You create momentum that carries you through the difficult days. The identity shift. The most powerful change happens when you stop trying to motivate yourself and start becoming someone who doesn't need motivation. This is about identity, not willpower. It's about becoming the type of person who acts regardless of how they feel. Right now, you might identify as someone who struggles with motivation. Someone who needs the right mood to be productive. Someone who waits for inspiration. These identities are keeping you stuck in patterns that don't serve you. What if you became someone who shows up consistently? Someone who acts without needing to feel like it? Someone who treats commitments to themselves as seriously as commitments to others? This isn't about changing your personality, it's about choosing which aspects of yourself to strengthen. Every time you act without feeling like it, you're proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you realized. You're building evidence for a new identity. You're becoming someone who can be counted on, especially by yourself. Practical strategies for daily implementation. Start tomorrow with one small commitment. Choose something so easy that it would be harder to skip than to do. Maybe it's writing one sentence, doing one push-up, or reading one page. The size doesn't matter. The consistency does. Create environmental cues that support your goals. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, prep your meals in advance. If you want to work on a project, have everything ready to go. Remove as much friction as possible from the actions you want to take. Develop pre-game rituals that signal to your brain it's time to work. This could be making a specific cup of coffee, playing a particular song, or doing a brief meditation. These rituals help you transition from resistance to action, from thinking about work to actually working. Track your consistency, not your perfection. Mark an X on a calendar every day you follow through, regardless of the quality of your work. Your goal is to avoid breaking the chain. This visual representation of your consistency becomes incredibly motivating over time. When resistance peaks, There will be days when the resistance feels overwhelming, when every excuse sounds reasonable, when your bed feels like the most logical place to stay. These are the days that matter most. These are the days that separate the people who achieve their goals from the people who don't. On these difficult days, lower the bar until it's impossible to fail. Instead of your full workout, commit to putting on your workout clothes. Instead of writing for an hour, commit to opening the document. Instead of working on your project for 2 hours, commit to working for 2 minutes. Often, starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, momentum takes over. But even if you only do the bare minimum, you've maintained your streak. You've proven to yourself that you can show up even when you don't want to. This is more valuable than any single productive day. Remember that feelings are temporary, but actions create lasting change. The resistance you feel right now will pass. The work you do, despite the resistance, will compound. Your future self will thank you for pushing through when it felt impossible. The ripple effect. When you master self-force in one area of your life, it spreads to everything else. The discipline you develop to work out regularly makes you more disciplined with your diet. The consistency you build in one project makes you more consistent with others. The confidence you gain from following through strengthens your belief in what's possible. People around you will notice the change. They'll see someone who keeps their commitments, who follows through on their plans, who doesn't make excuses when things get difficult. This reputation becomes one of your most valuable assets. It opens doors, creates opportunities, and attracts people who share your commitment to excellence. More importantly, you'll notice the change in yourself. You'll develop unshakable confidence in your ability to achieve what you set out to do. Not because everything will be easy, but because you'll know you can do difficult things. You'll trust yourself in a way that transforms how you approach every challenge. Your new operating system. Think of self-force as installing a new operating system in your life. The old system waited for perfect conditions, relied on motivation, and made excuses when things got hard. The new system acts regardless of conditions, creates its own motivation through action, and treats obstacles as puzzles to solve rather than reasons to quit. This new operating system doesn't eliminate difficult emotions, it processes them differently. Instead of letting resistance stop you, you acknowledge it and move forward anyway. Instead of waiting for clarity, you act your way into understanding. Instead of needing to feel ready, you get ready by starting. The installation process takes time. Some days the new system will run smoothly. Other days you might revert to old patterns. This is normal and expected. The key is to notice when you slip back and gently restart the new system. Progress isn't linear, but it is inevitable if you keep choosing growth over comfort. The freedom formula. Here's what nobody tells you about discipline. It doesn't create restriction, it creates freedom. When you can count on yourself to follow through, when you can act without needing perfect conditions, when you can push through resistance consistently, you become free from the chaos of reactive living. You're no longer at the mercy of your moods. You're not waiting for the right moment or for the perfect opportunity. You're not dependent on external circumstances to feel good about your progress. You've developed the ability to create the results you want regardless of how you feel or what's happening around you. This freedom is available to everyone, but it requires a trade. You trade the temporary comfort of avoiding difficult things for the lasting satisfaction of achieving meaningful goals. You trade the illusion of unlimited options for the reality of focused progress. You trade being a victim of your circumstances for being the architect of your life. Your transformation begins now. Everything you've learned in this chapter is useless unless you implement it. Reading about self-force won't change your life. Practicing it will. The techniques are simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. They require the one thing most people aren't willing to give: consistent action without guaranteed results. Your future self is watching the decisions you make right now. They're hoping you'll choose to be brave, to push through the resistance, to start before you feel ready. They're counting on you to build the foundation they'll stand on. The person you want to become isn't created by a single heroic moment. They're created by 1,000 small moments where you chose progress over comfort, where you acted despite not feeling like it, where you proved to yourself that you're capable of more than you realized. The art of self-force isn't about becoming someone different. It's about becoming who you really are underneath all the excuses, fears, and limiting beliefs. It's about accessing the strength that was always there, waiting for you to claim it. Your transformation doesn't start tomorrow when conditions are perfect. It doesn't start next week when you have more time. It doesn't start next month when you feel more motivated. Your transformation starts the moment you close this chapter and take the first small step toward the person you're meant to become. The only question left is, will you? Chapter 4: Mastering Focus and Energy. Your brain is not broken. Your willpower isn't weak. The reason you can't focus isn't because you lack discipline. The real problem is that you're fighting your own biology instead of working with it. Every day, millions of people sit at their desks, force themselves to stare at screens, and wonder why their minds wander to everything except the task in front of them. They blame themselves for being lazy or distracted, never realizing they're trying to drive a car with an empty gas tank. The human brain consumes 20% of your body's total energy. When that energy runs low, focus becomes impossible. When your sleep is poor, your attention span shrinks. When your blood sugar crashes, your willpower disappears. When you sit motionless for hours, your brain literally starts shutting down. This isn't a character flaw. It's physics. The most productive people in the world don't have superhuman discipline. They have systems that align their biology with their goals. They understand that focus isn't about forcing your mind to work harder. It's about creating the conditions where focus happens naturally. They know that energy management trumps time management every single time. The foundation of everything. Sleep is where productivity begins, not where it ends. Yet most people treat sleep like a luxury they can't afford, staying up late to squeeze more hours out of their day. This is like trying to run a marathon by cutting off your legs. Poor sleep doesn't just make you tired. It destroys your ability to concentrate, make decisions, and resist distractions. One night of bad sleep can reduce your cognitive performance by up to 40%. That's like showing up to work drunk. Your brain has two main operating systems. During the day, it's in focus mode, processing information and solving problems. At night, it switches to maintenance mode, clearing out mental clutter and consolidating memories. Skip the maintenance, and your focus mode stops working properly. It's like trying to use a computer that never gets updated or cleaned. The best sleepers don't just sleep more. They sleep smarter. They understand that quality beats quantity every time. 7 hours of deep, uninterrupted sleep will always outperform 9 hours of restless tossing and turning. The secret isn't just when you go to bed. It's how you prepare your brain and body for rest. 2 hours before bedtime, dim the lights in your home. Bright light tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime, blocking the production of melatonin, the hormone that makes you sleepy. Your bedroom should be cool, dark, and quiet. Think of it as a cave designed specifically for recovery. Cool temperatures tell your body it's time to shut down. Darkness signals your brain to produce the chemicals that create deep sleep. Create a shutdown ritual that tells your brain work is over. This might be closing your laptop, writing tomorrow's priorities on paper, or simply saying out loud, "Work is done." Your brain needs clear boundaries between work time and rest time. Without this separation, your mind will keep running in circles long after you've left the office. Stop checking your phone in bed. The blue light from screens doesn't just keep you awake. It fragments your sleep throughout the night, preventing your brain from entering the deep stages of rest where real recovery happens. If you must have your phone nearby, put it in airplane mode and use a real alarm clock instead. The morning after a good night's sleep, you'll notice the difference immediately. Tasks that felt impossible the day before become manageable. Problems that seemed unsolvable have obvious solutions. Your attention naturally locks onto what matters most. This isn't coincidence. This is your brain operating at full capacity instead of running on fumes. Fuel for your mind. Food is not just fuel for your body. It's fuel for your brain. What you eat directly impacts how well you can think, focus, and make decisions. Yet most people treat their nutrition like an afterthought, grabbing whatever is convenient and wondering why their energy crashes every afternoon. Your brain runs on glucose, but not all glucose is created equal. The key is providing steady fuel instead of wild swings that send your focus on a roller coaster ride. Simple carbohydrates like candy, soda, and processed snacks create a blood sugar spike followed by an inevitable crash. During the spike, you might feel energized and alert. But within an hour or two, your blood sugar plummets, taking your concentration with it. This crash leaves you feeling tired, irritable, and unable to focus on anything meaningful. Your brain starts craving more sugar to get back to that temporary high, creating a cycle that destroys productivity. Complex carbohydrates release energy slowly and steadily. Oatmeal, whole grains, and vegetables provide the consistent fuel your brain needs to maintain focus for hours instead of minutes. Protein helps stabilize blood sugar even further while providing the amino acids your brain uses to produce neurotransmitters. Healthy fats from nuts, avocados, and fish support brain cell membranes and improve cognitive function. The timing of your meals matters as much as what you eat. Eating a massive lunch triggers your body's rest and digest response, diverting blood flow away from your brain toward your digestive system. This is why you feel sleepy after big meals. Instead of 3 large meals, try eating smaller portions more frequently throughout the day. This keeps your blood sugar stable and your brain consistently fueled. Start your day with protein and healthy fats instead of sugar and refined carbs. Eggs, Greek yogurt, or nuts provide sustained energy that lasts for hours. Avoid the breakfast pastry and orange juice combination that sets you up for a mid-morning crash. Your first meal sets the tone for your entire day's energy levels. Dehydration is focus poison. Even mild dehydration reduces cognitive performance by up to 12%. Your brain is 75% water. When water levels drop, everything slows down. Keep a water bottle at your desk and sip consistently throughout the day. Don't wait until you feel thirsty. By then, your performance has already declined. Caffeine can be your friend or your enemy, depending on how you use it. A moderate amount at the right time enhances focus and alertness. Too much creates jittery anxiety that makes concentration impossible. The key is timing. Avoid caffeine in the afternoon if you want to sleep well at night. And never use caffeine as a substitute for proper sleep and nutrition. Movement creates mental clarity. Your brain and body are not separate systems. They're interconnected parts of the same machine. When your body is stagnant, your mind becomes sluggish. When your body moves, your brain comes alive. Movement increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus, decision-making, and impulse control. Exercise doesn't just make you physically stronger. It makes you mentally sharper. Sitting is the enemy of deep thinking. When you sit in the same position for hours, blood pools in your legs instead of flowing to your brain. Your posture deteriorates, reducing oxygen intake. Your energy drops, and your attention span shrinks. This isn't laziness. This is biology. The human body was designed to move, not to remain motionless for 8 hours straight. You don't need to become a fitness fanatic to boost your brain power. Simple movement throughout the day is enough to maintain mental clarity. Every hour, stand up and move for at least 2 minutes. Walk around the office, do some light stretching, or simply pace while you think. These micro breaks reset your focus and prevent the mental fatigue that comes from prolonged sitting. Take walking meetings whenever possible. Many of the best ideas come not from sitting at a desk, but from moving your body while your mind processes information. Walking activates the creative centers of your brain while reducing stress hormones that interfere with clear thinking. Some of history's greatest thinkers, from Aristotle to Steve Jobs, were known for their walking meetings. Regular exercise creates lasting changes in your brain structure. Cardio exercise increases the size of your hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and learning. Strength training improves executive function and problem-solving abilities. Even light exercise like yoga or stretching reduces cortisol levels and improves focus. The key is consistency, not intensity. 20 minutes of daily movement beats 3 hours of weekend exercise for cognitive benefits. Morning exercise sets a positive tone for your entire day. When you start with movement, you're immediately in an alert, energized state. Your body produces endorphins that improve mood and motivation. Your brain releases growth factors that enhance learning and memory. You've already accomplished something meaningful before most people have finished their coffee. The architecture of deep focus. True focus isn't about trying harder. It's about creating an environment where distraction becomes impossible and concentration becomes inevitable. Your physical workspace shapes your mental workspace more than you realize. Every object in your field of vision either supports your focus or undermines it. Every sound either enhances your concentration or destroys it. Clear your desk of everything except what you need for your current task. Visual clutter creates mental clutter. When your brain sees multiple objects, it unconsciously tries to process all of them simultaneously, dividing your attention even when you're trying to focus on one thing. A clean workspace isn't about being neat. It's about removing cognitive load so your brain can direct all its processing power toward what matters most. Your phone is a focus destroyer, even when it's silent. Research shows that simply having your phone visible reduces cognitive performance by up to 10%. The mere presence of the device creates background anxiety, as part of your brain constantly monitors it for notifications. Put your phone in another room, or at least out of sight. If you need it for work, put it in airplane mode and check messages at designated times. Noise can either help or hurt your concentration, depending on the type and your personal preferences. Complete silence works well for some people, but creates anxiety for others. Light background noise like coffee shop sounds or instrumental music can actually improve focus by masking distracting environmental sounds. Avoid music with lyrics, which forces your brain to process language while you're trying to focus on other tasks. Control your digital environment as carefully as your physical one. Close unnecessary browser tabs and applications. Turn off non-essential notifications. Use website blockers during focus sessions if needed. Every ping, pop-up, and notification fragments your attention, making it harder to engage in deep, meaningful work. Create rituals that signal to your brain it's time to focus. This might be making a cup of tea, organizing your materials, or simply taking 3 deep breaths. These small actions serve as a mental switch, transitioning your brain from scattered attention to concentrated focus. The more consistent your pre-work ritual, the faster you'll drop into a focus state. The power of intentional breaks. The most productive people don't work longer. They work in focused bursts with strategic recovery periods. Your brain has natural rhythms of attention and fatigue. Fight these rhythms, and you'll spend most of your day in a state of diminished capacity. Work with them, and you can maintain peak performance for hours instead of minutes. The Pomodoro technique leverages these natural rhythms by breaking work into 25-minute focus sessions followed by 5-minute breaks. During the work period, you focus completely on one task with no distractions allowed. During the break, you step away from work entirely and let your mind rest. This isn't just a productivity hack. It's a way of aligning your work patterns with how your brain naturally operates. Most people resist taking breaks because they feel like time away from work is time wasted. This is backward thinking. Strategic breaks don't reduce productivity. They multiply it. A well-timed 5-minute break can restore your focus for the next hour of work. Skip the break, and you'll spend that same hour in a state of declining attention and increasing mental fatigue. Not all breaks are created equal. Scrolling social media or checking email isn't a break. It's changing the type of mental work you're doing, not giving your brain time to recover. Real breaks involve stepping away from screens, moving your body, or letting your mind wander freely. Go for a short walk, do some stretching, or simply look out the window and daydream. Pay attention to your natural energy rhythms throughout the day. Most people have peak focus during the first few hours after waking up, another surge in mid-morning, and often a final peak in late afternoon. Schedule your most important work during these high-energy periods. Use lower energy times for routine tasks that don't require deep concentration. The afternoon energy dip isn't a personal failing. It's a biological reality. Your circadian rhythm naturally causes alertness to drop in the early afternoon, regardless of what you ate for lunch. Instead of fighting this dip with caffeine, embrace it as an opportunity for different types of work. Use this time for brainstorming, organizing, or planning rather than tasks requiring intense focus. Building your energy management system. Energy management is more important than time management because time is finite but energy is renewable. You can't create more hours in the day, but you can dramatically increase the quality of energy you bring to those hours. High-energy hours are exponentially more productive than low-energy hours. 1 hour of peak energy can accomplish what takes 3 hours of depleted energy. Track your energy levels for 1 week without trying to change anything. Every hour, rate your energy and focus on a scale of 1 to 10. Note what activities, foods, and situations increase or decrease your energy. Look for patterns. You might discover that certain foods consistently cause afternoon crashes, or that specific activities reliably boost your focus. Create an energy audit of your daily activities. Which tasks energize you, and which ones drain you? Whenever possible, batch energy-draining activities together and follow them with energy-boosting ones. If you have to do tedious administrative work, plan something engaging and meaningful immediately afterward. This prevents the drain from one activity from contaminating your entire day. Identify your personal focus triggers and energy killers. For some people, checking email first thing in the morning destroys their focus for hours. For others, working in a cluttered environment creates constant mental distraction. For many, trying to multitask turns every simple task into an exhausting challenge. Once you know your personal patterns, you can design your days to maximize energy and minimize drain. Design your ideal workday based on your natural rhythms and energy patterns. When is your brain naturally most alert? When do you typically experience energy dips? What activities restore your focus most effectively? Use this information to create a daily template that works with your biology instead of against it. Remember that energy management is highly individual. What works for someone else might not work for you. The key is experimenting with different approaches and paying attention to what actually improves your focus and energy levels, not what you think should work or what works for others. The deep work revolution. In our hyperconnected world, the ability to focus deeply on important work has become a rare and valuable skill. Most people spend their days switching between shallow tasks, checking email, responding to messages, and attending meetings. This constant task switching creates the illusion of productivity while preventing any meaningful work from getting done. Deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks. It's the state where your best ideas emerge, your most important problems get solved, and your most valuable contributions are created. Deep work requires protecting your attention like a precious resource instead of letting it be scattered across dozens of minor tasks. Start small with deep work sessions. If you currently struggle to focus for more than a few minutes, don't try to immediately work for 3 hours straight. Begin with 20 or 30-minute sessions of completely focused work. Gradually extend these sessions as your concentration muscle gets stronger. Like physical exercise, building focus capacity takes time and consistent practice. Choose one important task for each deep work session. Attempting to accomplish multiple goals during a focus session divides your attention and reduces the quality of your work. Instead, identify the single most important thing you need to accomplish and dedicate your full mental resources to that one task. Eliminate decision fatigue by planning your deep work sessions in advance. Decide what you'll work on when you'll work on it, and what resources you'll need before you sit down to focus. When it's time for deep work, you want to move immediately into concentration mode without spending mental energy on planning and decision-making. Protect your deep work time fiercely. This means saying no to meetings during your peak focus hours, letting phone calls go to voicemail, and being unavailable for non-urgent questions and requests. Many people feel guilty about being temporarily unreachable, but this protected time is where your most valuable work happens. Create accountability for your deep work practice. Tell colleagues when you'll be unavailable and why. Track how much deep work you accomplish each day. Share your goals with others who can help hold you accountable. The more seriously you treat deep work, the more others will respect your need for uninterrupted focused time. Conquering digital distraction. Your devices are designed to capture and fragment your attention. Every app, notification, and platform is engineered by teams of psychologists and designers whose job is to make their products as addictive as possible. Winning the battle for your focus requires understanding these systems and taking deliberate steps to regain control of your attention. Notifications are focus killers that provide no real value. The vast majority of notifications are not urgent and can be dealt with later. Turn off all non-essential notifications on your devices. If something is truly urgent, people will find a way to reach you. Everything else can wait until you choose to check messages at designated times. Batch similar activities together instead of spreading them throughout the day. Check and respond to email at 2 or 3 specific times rather than constantly throughout the day. Make all your phone calls during one block of time. Handle administrative tasks in one focus session. This batching prevents constant task switching and allows you to maintain focus for longer periods. Use the power of scheduling to control reactive behaviors. Instead of checking social media whenever you feel bored or anxious, schedule specific times for these activities. This transforms mindless scrolling from an unconscious habit into a conscious choice. You might discover that you don't actually want to spend as much time on these platforms when it becomes a deliberate decision. Create friction between yourself and distracting activities. Log out of social media accounts so you have to consciously log back in. Put your phone in another room when working. Use website blockers during focus sessions. Delete apps that provide no real value but consume significant time. The goal isn't to eliminate all digital tools, but to use them intentionally rather than compulsively. Replace mindless digital habits with intentional alternatives. When you feel the urge to check your phone, do 3 deep breaths instead. When you want to scroll social media, do a 2-minute walk. When you're tempted to browse random websites, drink a glass of water or do some light stretching. These small substitutions help break the automatic patterns that derail your focus. The compound effect of consistent practice. Focus is a skill that improves with practice. Every time you choose to concentrate on one task instead of multitasking, you're strengthening your ability to focus. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone during work, you're building impulse control. Every time you take a strategic break instead of pushing through fatigue, you're learning to manage your energy more effectively. Small improvements in focus compound dramatically over time. Being 5% more focused each day might seem insignificant, but it adds up to exponential improvements over weeks and months. The person who can focus deeply for 2 hours produces exponentially more value than someone who spends 8 hours in a state of scattered attention. Track your progress to maintain motivation and identify areas for improvement. Keep a simple log of how much deep work you accomplish each day. Note what conditions led to your best focus sessions and what factors made concentration difficult. This data helps you optimize your approach and see the progress you're making over time. Be patient with yourself as you build these new habits. Focus skills that have been neglected for years won't improve overnight. You might have days where concentration feels impossible and distraction wins every battle. This is normal and expected. What matters is getting back on track the next day and continuing to practice. Celebrate small wins along the way. Successfully completing a 30-minute focused work session is worth acknowledging. Going a full morning without checking social media is an achievement. Taking regular breaks instead of working until exhaustion shows real progress. These small victories build momentum for bigger changes. Your new operating system. Mastering focus and energy isn't about perfection. It's about creating systems that make concentration easier and distraction harder. It's about working with your biology instead of against it. It's about treating your attention as your most valuable resource and protecting it accordingly. The strategies in this chapter aren't suggestions. They're requirements for anyone who wants to do meaningful work in a world full of distractions. Sleep well to fuel your brain. Eat for sustained energy, not quick fixes. Move your body to activate your mind. Create environments that support focus. Take strategic breaks to maintain peak performance. Batch similar tasks to reduce task switching costs. Protect your deep work time fiercely. Start with 1 or 2 changes instead of trying to implement everything at once. Master the basics before adding complexity. Build systems that fit your life and work situation. Remember that the goal isn't to become a productivity robot. It's to create the conditions where your best work can emerge naturally and consistently. Your future success depends on your ability to focus deeply on what matters most. In a world where everyone is distracted, the person who can concentrate has an almost unfair advantage. That person can be you, but only if you treat focus as a skill worth developing and protecting. The choice is yours. You can continue fighting your biology and wondering why focus feels so difficult. Or you can start working with your natural systems, creating the conditions where concentration becomes effortless and meaningful work becomes inevitable. Your brain is ready. Your body is willing. All that's missing is the decision to begin. Chapter 5: Reframing Pain into Power. Discomfort isn't your enemy. It's your signal for growth. Most people have it backwards. They think pain means stop. They think discomfort means danger. They think frustration means failure. But what if everything you believed about struggle was wrong? What if the very thing you're running from is actually the key to everything you want? Your brain is wired to protect you from discomfort. It's an ancient system designed to keep you alive when tigers were chasing you. But there are no tigers in your office. There are no predators lurking behind your laptop screen. Yet your brain still sounds the alarm every time work gets challenging. It whispers lies about why you should quit, why you should check your phone, why you should do literally anything except the hard thing in front of you. This is the great deception of modern life. Your survival instincts, once your greatest ally, have become your greatest enemy in achieving meaningful goals. The very mechanism that kept your ancestors alive is now keeping you small. But here's what changes everything. Pain is not a stop sign. Pain is a compass. It points directly toward what matters most. Show me someone's deepest struggles, and I'll show you their greatest potential for growth. Show me what makes them want to quit, and I'll show you exactly where they need to go. Think about the last time you avoided something difficult. Maybe it was a tough conversation with your boss. Maybe it was starting that project you've been putting off for months. Maybe it was learning a skill that felt overwhelming. In that moment of avoidance, you weren't protecting yourself. You were actually choosing a different kind of pain. The pain of regret. The pain of staying stuck. The pain of wondering what could have been. Every moment you spend avoiding discomfort, you're actually choosing discomfort. You're just choosing the kind that doesn't lead anywhere. The kind that keeps you exactly where you are. The kind that compounds over time until the weight of all your avoided moments becomes unbearable. But what if you could flip this script? What if instead of seeing discomfort as a wall, you saw it as a door? What if instead of running from the burn, you learned to love the burn? What if the very sensation that makes most people quit became the sensation that makes you stronger? This is the difference between people who achieve extraordinary things and people who live ordinary lives. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not connections or circumstances. It's their relationship with discomfort. Winners don't feel less pain. They interpret pain differently. They've learned the secret that changes everything. Discomfort is not your enemy. Discomfort is your teacher. When you feel that familiar resistance rising in your chest, that voice telling you to stop, to check social media, to grab a snack, to do anything but the hard thing, that's not weakness calling. That's opportunity knocking. That's growth announcing its arrival. That's your future self trying to break through the barriers of who you are today. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common. They've learned to get excited by the things that make other people quit. They've trained themselves to see struggle as strength training for the soul. They understand that every moment of resistance overcome is a deposit in the bank account of their future success. Your comfort zone is not your friend. It's a beautifully decorated prison that keeps you safe and small. Every day you choose comfort over growth, you're voting for the person you are instead of the person you could become. You're choosing familiarity over possibility. You're choosing the known over the extraordinary. But growth lives in the gap between who you are and who you want to be. And that gap is filled with discomfort. There's no bridge across it. No shortcut around it. No secret passage that lets you avoid it. The only way through is through. The only way up is by embracing the climb. When you start to see pain as information instead of intimidation, everything changes. That tight feeling in your chest when you open your laptop isn't anxiety. It's anticipation. Your nervous system preparing for growth. That resistance you feel before starting a difficult task isn't your body telling you to stop. It's your body getting ready to expand. That voice in your head listing all the reasons you can't do something isn't wisdom. It's fear dressed up as logic. The truth is, your brain doesn't distinguish between physical and emotional discomfort. The same neural pathways that light up when you touch a hot stove light up when you face a challenging task. Your brain treats both as threats to be avoided. But here's the revolutionary insight. You can rewire these pathways. You can teach your brain to interpret the signal differently. Athletes understand this instinctively. When a runner feels the burn in their legs during a marathon, they don't stop. They smile. They know that feeling means they're pushing their limits. They know that discomfort is the price of progress. They've trained themselves to associate pain with power, struggle with strength, resistance with results. You can do the same thing with your work. Every time you feel that familiar resistance, instead of backing down, lean in. Instead of interpreting it as a stop sign, see it as a green light. Instead of hearing you can't, start hearing you're growing. Instead of feeling defeated, feel determined. This shift in perspective is not positive thinking. It's not pretending pain doesn't exist. It's recognizing pain for what it really is, a signal that you're moving beyond your current limits. It's understanding that discomfort is not a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's the mechanism by which ordinary people become extraordinary. When you embrace this truth, work stops being something that happens to you and becomes something you do with intention. That project you've been avoiding transforms from a source of stress into an opportunity for growth. That skill you're afraid to learn becomes a chance to expand who you are. That difficult conversation becomes a bridge to the relationship you really want. But let's be practical about this transformation. Reframing pain into power isn't something that happens overnight. It's a skill that requires practice, patience, and persistence. It starts with small moments of choosing differently. It builds through consistent action despite how you feel. It solidifies when you begin to see the results of your new relationship with discomfort. The first step is awareness. Start noticing when you feel resistance. Don't judge it. Don't try to push it away. Just observe it like a scientist studying an interesting phenomenon. Where do you feel it in your body? What thoughts accompany it? What stories does your mind tell you about why you should stop? The second step is reinterpretation. When you notice that familiar feeling, instead of automatically backing away, pause and ask yourself, what if this feeling means I'm about to grow? What if this discomfort is exactly where I need to be? What if pushing through this moment is the difference between who I am and who I'm becoming? The third step is action. This is where the magic happens. This is where theory becomes transformation. When you feel that resistance, that voice telling you to quit, that sensation urging you to choose comfort, do the opposite. Lean into the discomfort. Take one small step forward. Make one small choice that serves your future instead of your comfort. These moments of choosing growth over comfort compound. Each time you push through resistance, you're not just completing a task. You're rewiring your relationship with difficulty. You're building evidence that you can handle hard things. You're proving to yourself that discomfort is survivable, manageable, and ultimately profitable. Over time, something remarkable happens. The things that used to stop you start to energize you. The challenges that used to drain you begin to fuel you. The resistance that used to defeat you becomes the very thing that propels you forward. You develop what psychologists call anti-fragility, the ability to not just survive stress, but to actually get stronger from it. This is how ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. They don't eliminate discomfort from their lives. They change their relationship with it. They stop seeing struggle as evidence they're on the wrong path and start seeing it as proof they're on the right one. They understand that anything worth doing will require them to become someone they're not yet ready to be. Think about every meaningful achievement in your life. Your education, your relationships, your career milestones, your personal growth moments. None of them happened in your comfort zone. All of them required you to face something that felt difficult, uncertain, or uncomfortable. All of them asked you to be bigger than the person you were when you started. This is the pattern of all growth. First comes the challenge. Then comes the resistance. Then comes the choice. And then, if you choose wisely, comes the transformation. The person who emerges on the other side of that difficult conversation is different from the person who avoided it. The person who completes that challenging project has capabilities the person who started it didn't know they possessed. But here's what most people miss. The discomfort is not a side effect of growth. The discomfort is the mechanism of growth. It's not something to be endured on the way to success. It's the very process by which success is created. When you understand this, you stop waiting for motivation and start creating it. You stop hoping things will get easier and start getting stronger. This doesn't mean seeking out unnecessary suffering or being reckless with your well-being. It means developing the wisdom to distinguish between productive discomfort and destructive pain. Productive discomfort challenges you. Destructive pain damages you. Productive discomfort stretches your limits. Destructive pain exceeds them. Productive discomfort leads to growth. Destructive pain leads to harm. The key is learning to calibrate your relationship with difficulty. Too little challenge and you stagnate. Too much challenge and you break. The sweet spot is what psychologists call your growth edge, that place where you're stretched but not snapped, challenged but not crushed, uncomfortable but not overwhelmed. Living at your growth edge requires constant adjustment. What felt impossible last month might feel routine today. What challenges you now might bore you later. This is why successful people are always raising their standards, always seeking new mountains to climb, always finding ways to stay in that productive zone of discomfort. They understand that comfort is not a destination. It's a warning sign. When everything feels easy, when nothing challenges you, when you can cruise through your days without breaking a sweat, that's not success. That's stagnation. That's your potential dying a slow, comfortable death. This is why the most successful people actively seek out difficult situations. They volunteer for challenging assignments. They set ambitious goals. They put themselves in positions where they have to grow or fail. They understand that the person they are today got them to where they are today. But becoming who they want to be requires becoming someone they're not yet ready to be. Your relationship with discomfort determines the trajectory of your entire life. If you see pain as punishment, you'll minimize your potential. If you see struggle as suffering, you'll shrink from opportunities. If you see challenge as threat, you'll choose safety over significance every time. But if you can learn to see discomfort as information, struggle as strength training, and challenge as opportunity, everything changes. Your capacity expands. Your confidence grows. Your results improve. Your life transforms. This is not about becoming someone who enjoys pain. It's about becoming someone who understands pain's purpose. It's about recognizing that every moment of discomfort overcome is a moment of strength gained. It's about understanding that the things that break other people are the very things that can make you unbreakable. The most powerful reframe of all is this: discomfort is temporary, but the person you become by pushing through it is permanent. That difficult conversation ends, but the confidence you gain from having it stays with you forever. That challenging project gets completed, but the skills you develop while working on it become part of who you are. That skill you were afraid to learn becomes a tool you'll use for the rest of your life. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you're not just changing what you do. You're changing who you are. You're becoming someone who doesn't back down from difficulty. You're becoming someone who sees obstacles as opportunities. You're becoming someone who uses resistance as fuel instead of letting it become a barrier. This transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens one choice at a time. One moment of choosing differently. One decision to lean in instead of back away. One small step forward when everything in you wants to retreat. These moments seem insignificant in isolation, but they compound into a completely different life. The person you're becoming is forged in the moments when you want to quit but don't. They're shaped by the times you feel scared but act anyway. They're built through the accumulation of small, brave choices made when no one is watching, and nothing is guaranteed except the opportunity to grow. This is why successful people seem to have a different relationship with difficulty than everyone else. They've learned that the very things most people run from are the things that create the life they want. They've discovered that their greatest breakthroughs live on the other side of their biggest breakdowns. They've realized that their comfort zone and their growth zone are mutually exclusive territories. When you begin to see discomfort as your ally instead of your enemy, work becomes something entirely different. It stops being something you have to force yourself to do and becomes something you get to do. It transforms from a burden you carry to a strength you build. It evolves from a source of stress to a source of growth. This shift changes everything about how you approach your days. That report you've been avoiding becomes an opportunity to develop your analytical skills. That presentation you're dreading becomes a chance to improve your communication abilities. That difficult client becomes a masterclass in problem-solving and patience. Every challenge becomes a curriculum. Every obstacle becomes an education. Every moment of resistance becomes a chance to choose who you want to become. This is how you turn frustration into fuel, pressure into power, and pain into progress. The ultimate truth is this: you are not being tested by your struggles. You are being built by them. You are not being punished by your challenges. You are being prepared by them. You are not being defeated by your difficulties. You are being developed by them. Your capacity to handle difficulty determines your capacity to achieve significance. Your willingness to embrace discomfort determines your ability to create the life you want. Your relationship with resistance determines whether you live as the person you are or evolve into the person you could become. The choice is always yours. In every moment of difficulty, you get to decide, will this break me or build me? Will this defeat me or develop me? Will this be evidence of my limitations or proof of my potential? The answer you choose doesn't just determine what happens next. It determines who you become next. And who you become determines everything that follows. This is the power of reframing pain into power. This is the secret that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. This is the key that unlocks the door between where you are and where you want to be. The door is right there, waiting for you to walk through it. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is your willingness to embrace the discomfort required to create it. The question isn't whether you can handle the challenge. The question is whether you're ready to become the person who sees challenge as opportunity, resistance as fuel, and pain as the pathway to power. Your future self is waiting on the other side of your current discomfort. They're stronger than you imagine, more capable than you believe, and more resilient than you know. But they can only emerge through your willingness to face what you're facing right now. The time for comfort is over. The season for growth has begun. Your discomfort isn't your enemy. It's your invitation to become everything you were meant to be. Chapter 6: The Disciplined Lifestyle. The moment you stop forcing yourself to work is the moment you've won. This sounds backward, doesn't it? But here's the truth that separates people who struggle with work from those who flow through it naturally. When discipline becomes your default setting, forcing disappears. Work becomes as automatic as breathing. Most people think discipline is about pushing harder. They're wrong. Real discipline is about building a life where the right choices become effortless. It's about creating systems so strong that your lazy brain has no choice but to follow through. Today, we're going to transform how you think about discipline forever. Think about the most successful person you know. Watch them closely. They don't struggle to get out of bed. They don't fight with themselves about starting work. They don't need motivation speeches to keep going. Why? Because they've built what we call the disciplined lifestyle. Their entire day is designed to make success inevitable. The disciplined lifestyle isn't about becoming a robot. It's about becoming free. Free from the constant mental battles. Free from the guilt of procrastination. Free from the stress of last-minute scrambles. When you master this chapter, work stops being something you do and becomes something you are. The identity shift that changes everything. Here's where most people get discipline completely wrong. They treat it like a skill you practice. But discipline isn't something you do. Discipline is something you become. The most powerful shift you can make is moving from, "I'm trying to be disciplined," to "I am a disciplined person." Your identity drives your actions, not the other way around. A disciplined person doesn't need to force themselves to work because working is what disciplined people do. It's not a choice they make each day. It's who they are. Right now, stop and ask yourself this question. When someone asks what kind of person you are, what do you say? Do you say, "I'm trying to get better at discipline"? Or do you say, "I'm a disciplined person"? The difference between these two statements will determine your entire future. Your brain is constantly looking for evidence to support your identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with work, your brain will find ways to prove that true. If you see yourself as someone who gets things done, your brain will move heaven and earth to make that happen. But identity shifts don't happen overnight. They happen through what psychologists call identity-based evidence. Every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you choose work over comfort, you're proving to yourself that you are becoming that disciplined person. The beauty of this approach is that it compounds. The first few votes feel hard. But as the evidence builds, your identity starts to shift. And once your identity shifts, the behaviors become automatic. This is why some people seem naturally disciplined. They're not special. They just built enough evidence that their brain accepts the new identity as fact. Start today by changing how you talk about yourself. Stop saying, "I'm not good at this," and start saying, "I'm learning to be better at this." Stop saying, "I always procrastinate," and start saying, "I'm becoming someone who takes action." These aren't just words. They are programming instructions for your subconscious mind. Building your personal operating system. Every computer needs an operating system to function. Every disciplined person needs a personal operating system, too. This isn't just a schedule or a routine. It's a complete framework that makes good decisions automatic and bad decisions nearly impossible. Your personal operating system has 5 core components, and each one reinforces the others. First is your environment design. Your environment is stronger than your willpower, so make your environment work for you instead of against you. Remove temptations, add triggers for good behaviors, and make the right choices the easiest choices. Look around your workspace right now. What does it tell you about who you are? Is it set up for someone who gets important work done, or for someone who gets distracted? Your environment should scream, productive person works here. Clear surfaces, organized tools, everything positioned to make starting work as simple as opening your laptop. The second component is your energy management system. Discipline isn't just about mental strength. It's about managing your physical and mental energy like the precious resource it is. You have roughly 4 hours of peak mental energy each day. Most people waste these hours on email and social media. Disciplined people guard these hours like gold. Track your energy levels for 1 week. Notice when you feel most alert, most creative, most focused. Then design your day to do your most important work during these peak hours. Save the mundane tasks for when your energy naturally dips. This single shift can double your productivity without working any harder. The third component is your decision-making framework. Disciplined people don't make more good decisions than undisciplined people. They make fewer decisions overall. They automate as many choices as possible, so their mental energy goes to what matters most. Create simple rules for common situations. When you wake up, you do this specific morning routine. When you sit at your desk, you start with this specific task. When you feel the urge to check social media, you do this instead. Rules eliminate the mental overhead of deciding what to do next. The fourth component is your recovery system. This might sound counterintuitive, but disciplined people are experts at rest. They know that sustainable discipline requires regular recovery. They plan their breaks, they protect their sleep, and they have systems for bouncing back when they inevitably have off days. The fifth component is your measurement system. You can improve what you don't measure. But most people measure the wrong things. They measure how many hours they worked instead of how much they accomplished. They measure how busy they felt instead of how much progress they made. Choose 3 simple metrics that actually matter. Maybe it's how many deep work sessions you complete each day. Maybe it's how many important tasks you finish before lunch. Maybe it's how consistently you stick to your morning routine. Track these numbers daily and watch how quickly your behavior improves when you're measuring what matters. The science of sustainable motivation. Motivation gets a bad reputation in disciplined circles. People say you can't rely on motivation because it comes and goes. They're half right. You can't rely on random motivation. But you can engineer sustainable motivation by understanding how it actually works. Motivation isn't a feeling that strikes you like lightning. It's a biological response to specific conditions. When you understand these conditions, you can create them on demand. The first condition is progress. Your brain releases motivation chemicals when it perceives forward movement toward a goal. This is why people lose motivation halfway through big projects. The initial progress feels fast and exciting, but then you hit the messy middle where progress slows down. Your brain stops getting its motivation hits, so you lose steam. The solution isn't to push through with willpower. The solution is to redesign your progress tracking system. Break every big goal into micro goals that you can complete in 1 or 2 days maximum. Your brain needs frequent wins to maintain motivation. A goal to write a book gives you 1 potential win 6 months from now. A goal to write 500 words today gives you a win every single day. The second condition for sustainable motivation is autonomy. Your brain fights back when it feels controlled, even when you're the one doing the controlling. This is why forcing yourself to work creates internal resistance. Instead of forcing, create the feeling of choice even within structure. Instead of saying, I have to write for 2 hours, say, I'm choosing to write for 2 hours because it moves me toward my goal. This isn't just positive thinking nonsense. It's a neurological hack that reduces resistance and increases engagement. The third condition is competence. Motivation dies when tasks feel too hard or too easy. You need to hit the sweet spot psychologists call Desirable difficulty. The task should be challenging enough to engage your full attention, but not so hard that it feels overwhelming. If you're losing motivation on a project, check the difficulty level. Is it too easy and therefore boring? Add complexity or raise your standards. Is it too hard and therefore overwhelming? Break it into smaller pieces or build up your skills gradually. The fourth condition is connection. Humans are social creatures. When you feel connected to something larger than yourself, motivation becomes much easier to sustain. Connect your daily work to your bigger values, your family's future, or your contribution to the world. Write down why your work matters beyond just getting it done. How does finishing this project make the world better? How does building this discipline serve the people you care about? When you connect daily tasks to deeper meaning, motivation stops being about feelings and starts being about purpose. Mastering the balance between push and recovery. The biggest mistake people make with discipline is thinking it means pushing all the time. Real discipline includes strategic recovery. The most disciplined athletes in the world don't train every single day. They train hard, then they rest completely. Then they train hard again. Your work life needs the same rhythm. Intensity followed by recovery. Focus followed by restoration. This isn't being lazy. This is being strategic. A muscle that's worked every day without rest doesn't get stronger. It gets weaker and eventually breaks down. Build recovery into your discipline system from the beginning. Plan your breaks before you need them. Schedule your rest before you're exhausted. This prevents burnout and makes your intense periods much more effective. But here's the critical part that most people miss. There's a difference between strategic recovery and mindless escape. Strategic recovery restores your energy and sharpens your focus. Mindless escape drains your energy and scatters your attention. Strategic recovery includes things like exercise, meditation, quality sleep, time in nature, meaningful conversations, and engaging hobbies. These activities actually restore your mental resources. Mindless escape includes things like social media scrolling, binge-watching shows, excessive gaming, or mindless shopping. These activities might feel relaxing in a moment, but they leave you more depleted than before. The disciplined lifestyle includes both intense work periods and genuine restoration periods. Neither one works without the other. Plan both with the same level of intentionality. Create clear boundaries between work time and recovery time. When you're working, work completely. No half attention to social media or random internet browsing. When you're recovering, recover completely. No checking work emails or thinking about tomorrow's tasks. Your brain needs clear signals about what mode it's in. Mixed signals create stress and reduce the effectiveness of both work and rest. Clean boundaries create clean energy and clean focus. The consistency rule that trumps everything. Here's the rule that separates people with a disciplined lifestyle from everyone else. Consistency beats intensity every single time. It's better to work at 70% intensity every day than to work at 100% intensity 3 days a week. Most people approach discipline like a sprint. They go all out for a few days or weeks, then burn out completely. Disciplined people approach it like a marathon. They find a pace they can sustain indefinitely, then they stick to it religiously. The magic isn't in the individual days. The magic is in the chain of days. Each consistent day builds on the one before it. The compound effect of daily consistency is more powerful than any burst of intense effort. But consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up even when you don't feel like it. It means doing something even when you can't do everything. On days when you can do a full workout, do a full workout. On days when you can only do 10 push-ups, do 10 push-ups. But never do nothing. The key to consistency is making your minimum viable effort so small that you can't say no. If your goal is to write every day, make your minimum 1 sentence. If your goal is to exercise every day, make your minimum 1 minute. If your goal is to read every day, make your minimum 1 page. This isn't about lowering your standards. This is about removing friction. On most days, you'll exceed your minimum effort by a lot. But on hard days, your minimum effort keeps the chain alive. And keeping the chain alive is what builds the disciplined lifestyle. Create a visual representation of your consistency. Mark an X on a calendar for every day you follow through on your key behaviors. Seeing the chain of X's creates a powerful psychological effect. You start to protect the chain. Missing one day starts to feel like breaking something valuable. Turning obstacles into fuel. The disciplined lifestyle isn't about avoiding obstacles. It's about developing such a strong relationship with obstacles that you actually look forward to them. Every obstacle overcome makes you stronger. Every challenge navigated makes you more confident. Every setback recovered from makes you more resilient. Most people see obstacles as evidence that they're not cut out for discipline. Disciplined people see obstacles as training equipment. The obstacle isn't the enemy of discipline. The obstacle is discipline training. Reframe every challenge as a question. Instead of "Why is this happening to me?" ask "How is this making me stronger?" Instead of "This is too hard," ask "What skill is this teaching me?" Instead of "I want to give up," ask "What would the person I'm becoming do right now?" The disciplined lifestyle includes a systematic approach to obstacles. First, expect them. They're not anomalies or signs that you're doing something wrong. They're the normal cost of pursuing anything worthwhile. When you expect obstacles, you're not surprised by them. You're prepared for them. Second, have a plan for common obstacles. What will you do when motivation is low? What will you do when unexpected problems arise? What will you do when you face criticism or doubt? Having pre-planned responses removes the decision-making overhead when obstacles appear. Third, use obstacles as information. Every obstacle tells you something valuable about your system or your approach. Maybe your goals are too aggressive. Maybe your environment needs adjustment. Maybe you need to build a specific skill. Obstacles aren't roadblocks. They're feedback. Fourth, celebrate obstacle victories as much as regular victories. Overcoming a challenge is actually more valuable than completing a task when everything goes smoothly. Challenge victories build confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes next. Building your support systems. The disciplined lifestyle isn't a solo journey. Even the most self-reliant people need support systems. But most people build support systems backward. They look for people who will make them feel better when they're struggling. Disciplined people look for people who will help them maintain high standards. There are 3 types of people you need in your support system. First, you need accountability partners. These are people who know your goals and check on your progress regularly. They're not cheerleaders. They're mirrors. They reflect back to you whether you're living up to your commitments. Choose accountability partners carefully. You want people who care about your success more than your comfort. People who will call you out when you're making excuses. People who will celebrate your wins but won't let you coast on past victories. Second, you need mentors or models. These are people who are already living the disciplined lifestyle you want to build. They don't have to be famous or perfect. They just need to be further along the path than you are. Study how they structure their days. Notice how they handle obstacles. Pay attention to how they talk about their work and their goals. You're not trying to copy them exactly. You're trying to understand the principles behind their success. Third, you need peers on the same journey. These are people who are building discipline in their own lives and understand the challenges you're facing. They provide encouragement, share strategies, and create a sense of community around growth. Join groups, find online communities, or start your own accountability group. Surrounding yourself with people who are also committed to discipline makes the lifestyle feel normal instead of extreme. The long game of discipline. The disciplined lifestyle is about playing the long game. While everyone else is looking for quick fixes and life hacks, you're building systems that will serve you for decades. While everyone else is starting and stopping, you're compounding your efforts day after day. This long-term perspective changes how you think about everything. Setbacks become temporary inconveniences instead of major disasters. Bad days become isolated events instead of evidence of failure. Progress becomes measured in months and years instead of days and weeks. The long-game mindset also helps you avoid the trap of perfectionism. You're not trying to be perfect today. You're trying to be slightly better than yesterday. You're not trying to never fail. You're trying to fail forward and learn from every mistake. Think about where you want to be in 5 years. What kind of person do you want to become? What do you want your daily life to look like? Now work backward. What habits and systems do you need to build to become that person? What do you need to start doing today to make that future inevitable? The disciplined lifestyle isn't about sacrifice. It's about investment. You're investing your current comfort for future freedom. You're investing your current effort for future ease. You're investing your current discipline for future success. Living by design instead of default. Most people live by default. They react to whatever happens instead of creating what they want to happen. The disciplined lifestyle is about living by design. Every choice is intentional. Every habit serves a purpose. Every system moves you toward your goals. Living by design starts with clarity about what you actually want. Not what you think you should want. Not what other people want for you. What you genuinely want for your life. This clarity becomes your North Star. It guides every decision and gives meaning to every effort. Once you know what you want, you reverse engineer the daily behaviors that will get you there. If you want to write a book, you need to write consistently. If you want to be healthy, you need to exercise and eat well consistently. If you want financial freedom, you need to save and invest consistently. The disciplined lifestyle turns these requirements from burdens into opportunities. Writing isn't something you have to do. It's something you get to do because it moves you toward your goal. Exercise isn't a chore. It's an investment in your future energy and health. This shift in perspective is everything. When you see discipline as the path to what you want most, it stops feeling like restriction and starts feeling like freedom. Creating your daily operating system. Your daily routine is the foundation of the disciplined lifestyle. But this isn't about following someone else's perfect morning routine. This is about designing a daily operating system that works for your life, your goals, and your personality. Start with your non-negotiables. What are the daily behaviors that absolutely must happen for you to feel successful? Maybe it's exercising, writing, reading, or planning your day. These become the fixed points around which everything else flows. Build buffer time around your non-negotiables. Don't schedule them back-to-back with other commitments. Give yourself space to complete them without rushing. Rushing creates stress, and stress kills consistency. Design your environment to support your routine. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Set up your workspace before you need it. Prepare whatever you need for tomorrow before you go to bed tonight. Remove as much friction as possible from your important behaviors. Create rituals that signal transitions. When you sit at your desk and put on your headphones, that signals focus time. When you change into workout clothes, that signals exercise time. These small rituals help your brain shift modes quickly and completely. Build flexibility into your routine. Life happens. Unexpected things come up. Instead of letting disruptions derail you completely, have backup plans. If you can't do your full morning routine, what's the abbreviated version? If you can't work in your usual space, where's your backup location? The identity reinforcement loop. The disciplined lifestyle becomes self-reinforcing through what we call the identity reinforcement loop. Every disciplined action strengthens your identity as a disciplined person. Every strengthened identity makes disciplined actions more likely. This creates an upward spiral that eventually becomes unstoppable. But you have to consciously feed this loop, especially in the beginning. After every disciplined choice, take a moment to acknowledge it. Say to yourself, that's what disciplined people do, or I'm becoming the person I want to be. These micro-celebrations program your subconscious to repeat the behavior. Keep a record of your disciplined actions. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you did that aligned with your goals. This isn't about perfection. This is about recognition. Your brain needs to see evidence that you're becoming more disciplined. Share your wins with your support system. When you follow through on a commitment, tell someone who will celebrate with you. External recognition amplifies internal motivation and strengthens your new identity. But also learn to celebrate privately. The most sustainable motivation comes from internal validation, not external praise. Develop your own private celebration rituals for when you follow through on commitments to yourself. Maintaining momentum through seasons of life. Life is seasons. Sometimes you'll be in expansion mode with lots of energy and opportunity. Sometimes you'll be in maintenance mode just trying to keep things together. The disciplined lifestyle adapts to these seasons without breaking. During high-energy seasons, use that momentum to build stronger systems and tackle bigger challenges. But don't assume this energy will last forever. Use peak periods to prepare for valley periods. During low-energy seasons, focus on maintaining your most important habits and systems. This isn't the time to add new goals or push harder. This is the time to trust your systems and do the minimum to keep moving forward. The key is recognizing which season you're in and adjusting accordingly. Fighting against the natural rhythms of life creates unnecessary stress and often leads to burnout. Create different versions of your routine for different seasons. What does your discipline look like when you're traveling? What does it look like when you're dealing with family emergencies? What does it look like during busy work periods? Having these backup versions prepared means you never have to start from zero. You just switch to the appropriate version for your current situation. The compound effect of daily discipline. The disciplined lifestyle is powered by compound interest. Just like money compounds in an investment account, discipline compounds in your life. Each day of consistent action builds on all the previous days. At first, the compound effect is invisible. One day of good habits doesn't seem to matter much. 1 week of discipline doesn't transform your life. But months and years of consistent discipline create results that seem miraculous to people who don't understand the process. This is why most people give up too early. They expect linear results from compound behaviors. They expect to see dramatic changes within days or weeks. But compound effects start slowly and then accelerate dramatically. Trust the process even when you can't see immediate results. Keep making deposits in your discipline account every single day. The interest will start to show up in ways you never expected. Years from now, you'll look back at this period of your life as the turning point. The moment when you stopped hoping things would get better and started making them better. The moment when you stopped being someone who wishes and started being someone who does. Your new default setting. The ultimate goal of the disciplined lifestyle isn't to become someone who forces themselves to work. The goal is to become someone who works naturally. Someone whose default setting is productive action instead of comfortable inaction. This transformation happens gradually, then suddenly. For months, you might feel like you're pushing uphill. Then one day you realize you're not pushing anymore. You're flowing. Work has become natural. Discipline has become automatic. When you reach this point, you'll understand something that most people never learn. Discipline isn't about restriction. It's about freedom. Freedom from the chaos of an undirected life. Freedom from the regret of wasted potential. Freedom from the anxiety of always being behind. The disciplined life is actually the easiest life to live. It's easier to be consistent than to constantly start over. It's easier to have systems than to make everything up as you go. It's easier to do things right the first time than to fix them later. You're not just building habits. You're building a new version of yourself. A version that's reliable, capable, and unstoppable. A version that doesn't need external motivation because internal motivation never runs out. This is your invitation to stop forcing yourself to work and start becoming someone who works naturally. Stop fighting against your nature and start designing a new nature. Stop hoping for discipline and start living the disciplined lifestyle. The transformation starts today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Today, right now, with the next choice you make. Your future self is waiting for you to become them. Your dreams are waiting for you to do the work. Your potential is waiting for you to stop wasting it. The disciplined lifestyle isn't just about getting more done. It's about becoming someone you're proud to be. Someone who keeps their promises, especially the ones they make to themselves. Someone who doesn't just have goals but lives them daily. Welcome to the disciplined lifestyle. Welcome to the life where work flows instead of feeling forced. Welcome to becoming someone who doesn't just dream about success but builds it one consistent day at a time.